to practice today. We also do have the first official injury report, and that does see 6 players not practicing today. Josh Allen, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, and Reggie Gilliam. And then 4 players were limited: Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Phillips. We also got an update before practice from head coach Sean McDermott on the status of Ed Oliver, and not great news for him. He underwent a meniscus cleanup earlier this week. This injury did pop up during the rehab process that Oliver is undergoing as he looks to come back from a bicep injury. Oliver, of course, with this does remain on IR. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help? Call 1-800-8-MILLION. We'll get more on the Bills. Sal Capaccio joining the show later on today at 5 p.m. Around the rest of the league, more bad news off the field for the New England Patriots. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore facing misdemeanor charge of assault and battery on a household/family member. This was according to court documents released today. And then just yesterday it was announced that wide receiver Stephon Diggs was being charged with felony strangulation or suffocation and misdemeanor assault and battery. Some injury news. Steelers have placed tight end Darnell Washington on season-ending IR, and then Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, he was back at practice today. And Steelers, the Ravens, they are in action on Sunday night for a winner-take-all in the AFC North. Sabres game night at Dallas, pregame at 7 for an 8 p.m. puck drop. Buffalo looking for win number 10 in a row. Though goaltender Alex Lyon, he is heading back to Buffalo for further evaluation on a lower body injury. Though some good news. It is not official, but Emily Kaplan of ESPN is reporting Sabres forward Tage Thompson is going to be making Team USA's Olympic roster. The full Team USA roster is going to be announced on Friday. And then in college football, the quarterfinals of the college football playoff does start tonight with the Cotton Bowl at 7:30, Ohio State versus Miami, and then the other 3 games will be tomorrow. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl at noon, the Rose Bowl between Indiana and Alabama at 4:30, then at 8, the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss taking on Georgia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day!
Sports Radio 550.
It just hit me. Between plays, blankly looking up at the ReliaQuest Bowl. Can a bowl game even just be a word anymore? I'm going to be mad at myself that I even said, I'm about to say it a second time, ReliaQuest. That's like probably a insurance company. Is it a financial company and an insurance company, though? That's what we need to know. It hit me. It's New Year's Eve, and I have nothing to do tonight. I mean, nothing planned. Nothing to do makes it sound like all my chores are done or whatever. Like all my work is done at home, which is certainly not the case. If I needed... I'm sure I could think of someone who would tell me, do you need something to do? Here's a list, okay? If you need something to do, just pick literally one thing off this list and we'll feel great. You know, I promise I'll do that. But I have no plans to do anything. Part of it is, it's my one friend's problem. It's his fault. My friend Mike is out of town, and it's his birthday. And for maybe 7 or so of the last 10 years, I want to say, New Year's Eve with him and his wife and daughter and my family and some other friends have always been at my house. Open up the basement, there's a bar, that's a party. We put on, for fun, you would love this. We put on vintage Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve shows from like the early 80s or something, because you can do that. That makes us feel really, smart and hip, because we're not watching, well, we would never watch the current one, right? So we watched the old Dick Clark New Year's Eve shows at Times Square, and it's a great night. But he's out of town. So is my family. Like, there's not even a hot, pigs in a blanket, shrimp, stuffed mushrooms kind of appetizer. Nothing. I've got nothing at all. I'm going to be out of here 7 at the latest. And I have nothing. I have to feed the dog and take her for a short walk if it's not too snowy. And that's it. And what am I going to do is there another, there's a bowl game that has a word, cotton, but even that's weird because that's actually a playoff. They just sort of are hanging on to the cotton, orange, rose, sugar names, even though it kind of, unless the Cotton Bowl, I think can't kind of by pre-playoff years, the Cotton Bowl was a little bit more fringe. It was sort of like not invited to the cool kids table anymore, the Cotton Bowl. It was just not as sexy as the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and a couple of the other, maybe the Fiesta Bowl, but that's the ReliaQuest, really. There's not even like a tangerine after the word ReliaQuest. There's just nothing. We don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. The bowl games are the whole system is so far gone. Well, anyway, Happy New Year. I'm Mike Schopp. Thanks for listening. Bulldog is off today. He'll be back with me on Friday. I keep saying that. I'm pretty sure that's right. No one has told me different. So that's my expectation. I'm looking forward to today very much. Joe Ostrowski coming up at 3:30. Always a great time with Joe. He's now on the podcast Chicken Dinner with Sam Panayotovich, who I expect will join us on Friday. Dan Leberfeld, as it is Jets week, right? It is, right? That's what we're all thinking about is the Jets. Name 5 Jets. That's what we're all thinking about. So Dan Leberfeld on the Jets, and was it Tyler Dunn yesterday? I think it was, that I asked, like, is this a new low point? I mean, the Jets are the Sabres of the last 14 years in football where they have not made the playoffs at all. And it's just sort of it's the drought, it's different degrees of failure, I guess. Maybe that could be their video yearbook. A lesser degree of failure, the 2021 New York Jets. Maybe I've stolen that. Probably not. So we'll talk to Dan about this game coming up on Sunday. I wonder how much, do you wonder this? So the Bills this week, it's a work week. I mean, it's absolutely a work week. The playoffs are next week. And even though there isn't the division on the line here this week, it's got to be super focused. Interesting how the players do that around Christmas and New Year's. They got to stay really on point. And I wonder how much of their prep is toward the Jets. I feel I've been asked this, and we've talked about this since Monday or since Sunday night. I think the Bills will seriously rest players in this game. I don't know that, but I'm expecting that. And that starts with Allen, of course. He starts the game, and then, I don't know, does he play more than one play because it's the stadium finale, or does he play, I don't know. I feel like the coach's objective is to be right for the postseason, and the stadium being retired has nothing to do with that. So maybe we get one play, maybe it's a series, maybe it's a quarter, I don't know, but it's not going to be a lot from Allen. I wonder, that's my expectation anyway. I wonder what the Bills sort of, I don't know, they're always trying to win, but how much it matters to them to win this game. And I put this to you, 803-0550, or any sort of bye-bye stadium kind of thoughts or feelings that you have. We did some of this yesterday, and with 3 guests today, there won't be, a sort of a long run of calls. So I'm open to it like right away here. But I wonder what kind of incentive or like pressure there is within the team from McDermott to beat the Jets. They might feel, but they would never want to sort of acknowledge it, that they can just beat them with their eyes closed. That this is, I mean, it might be the easiest game on the schedule that's possible, this week would be a home game against the Jets. I mean, they have really, I thought, this is on me, I guess. I mean, last week at this time, you might have heard me talking up the Jets' chances against the Patriots, and I couldn't have been more wrong to do that. I mean, as soon as the game started, it was over. So is that what we get this week too? Is it absolutely already Cancun time for Jets players? But, you know, the Bills don't want to fall for that or be distracted by that. They can move up one, if not two spots by winning, or at least, to put it maybe in a better way, they're the 7 if they lose to the Jets. They're the 6 or maybe the 5 if they win. So there's the potential to move up from the 7 seed. Do you think it matters to them? The one thing about the 7, because you don't know 2 or 3 either, New England or Jacksonville, or maybe even Denver, but Denver is probably safe against the Chargers without Justin Herbert this week. Probably. It's as far as I'll go. Which would mean that Denver is the 1. And if I'm the 7 and I win that first game against New England or Jacksonville, then I'm locked in for Denver in the second week. And I don't know. How do you feel about that? Is a game and then Denver the second week better or worse than the other 2, like Jacksonville, New England, in whatever order? I guess who's third on that list of the 3 teams, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Jaguars? That's interesting. You've got a ton of incentives. I looked at the chart today. Somebody posted a chart of all the player incentives in the NFL. And granted, a couple of these Bills ones, like Michael Hoyt is one. I'm pretty sure he's not getting 2 sacks in this game being on IR. But it's Bosa, Daquan Jones. It's not going to be Oliver. Oliver needed 3 sacks for $250,000. That's out. Shakir has a couple, 8 catches, a touchdown. That's $150,000 each. Ty Johnson has a couple. Dawson Knox has 3 different $100,000 incentives in this game. The Bills might want to make their guys happy and sort of lean into that a little bit. I don't know. There's a lot on my mind. It's this game, but it's mostly next week. It's that I've got nothing to do tonight. It's these incentives. It's fantasy is over, and I'm definitely feeling a little bit of a void, which I'm trying to embrace because the fantasy experience in my life is, I don't want to say rigorous because that's embarrassing. That sounds like if you're riding a bike for 30 miles a day, but it's just sort of involved. How about that? Is that a fair word to do it? Involved. And I'm trying to enjoy the respite from having that all be over. And it totally is. I very well might drop in a DFS lineup. Those are fun in week 18 because you have all these backups playing and you can kind of just, it's almost like the preseason. But without that, I'm feeling a little bit of a void, as I think is coming across. And I've also already said it. Let's go to Nick here. Hi, Nick.
Oh, hey, I just wanted to reflect quickly on my first job. One of my first jobs was at Rich Stadium. Me and a few of my friends, we were 18, 19 years old back in the 70s. And in those days, you were legal to drink in them days. But anyhow, our job at the stadium was basically selling cups of beer in the crowd.
Yep.
We were around with the rack of beer. A beer was 90 cents. And there we were. We were young and didn't have much money. And we were able to go to the games and make maybe 30 to 50 bucks. And that was great in the 70s.
90 cents so that they would give you the 10 cents tip? Right? Like, here's a buck, keep the change, kid? More like that?
So I don't remember.
Probably, though. Strategically priced, Nick.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is there any incentive for the Bills to win this game? I mean, there's no chance of another home game, even if we beat the first opponent and then down the line?
No, there would be. Like that's part of it. You can make it that. Thanks, Nick. Happy New Year. You can make it that, or you can make it just matchups. But that's the extent of it. I mean, they can't win the AFC East. They might be able to get to the 5, but they need a pretty big upset or two around the AFC. It's pretty much only going to be 6 or 7, and 6 gives you some look at a home game. What it would be is not trying to overthink the rest of the possible seedings, but say 6-3 is Bills, Jaguars, win that game. Houston, say, is the 7, or the Chargers. Chargers are more likely the 7. They beat New England and Denver, and you end up hosting them in the AFC Championship game. And that's the dream. Is it so possible that it makes this game important? Maybe. I think of this game more as just like, oh, how could you possibly lose to the Jets? But honestly, if Trubisky plays 3 quarters, you could. I mean, that's not that different from what the Jets are doing. And if you're sitting 5 good players, offense or defense, Benford, whoever else would sit, then I think you're, I don't know, at the Jets level. So maybe not. Maybe you're still better. But that's really what it's about. Let's go to Zach next. Hi, Zach.
Hey, Mike. Just want to call on the matchups. I do think the Bills will take care of business Sunday. Kind of odd to be thinking about. I love your comments on the situation where it's like the last game, but looking at the playoffs, it's just kind of this conundrum I'm trying to figure out in my head because it is going to be emotional, but I'm also looking at playoffs. But on the playoffs, I think if the Bills play their best game, and their best game being solid defense in the second half of the game, Cook playing well, and Allen having a clean game, clean with no hits and no crazy turnovers, game-changing turnovers. This is a playoff field where I feel confident in them beating any of them if they play that kind of game. Like if going in, if that game happens, I think the Bills walk out anywhere. Jacksonville, New England, Denver. I'm not going into any of these where I'm like, I feel like, any of these teams are a major threat. I mean, I could also see them losing, but I would be more fearful of that Jacksonville team, the 17 Bills played, than this Jaguars team. And this Jaguars team's got a better quarterback, but that defense there were some monsters on that team, man. Nobody on this Jacksonville team really scares me. So Bills against the field, I kind of like it if they could play their best game.
Well, you could bet that if you're a betting man, because that would be not the hugest surprise of all possibilities this playoff season, but it would be up there. If you liked them, this is what I've been talking about with Sam Panayotovich all season, because he just keeps pouring more and more of his money into Bills and the Super Bowl. Like, you could still do that. The loss to the Eagles makes that such that it's not like it's super cheap now. I don't know if I agree with the Jacksonville point. It's all so close. The thing I think about when I think about Jacksonville, really doesn't seem like there's an obvious weakness with them. And I'm curious about what their passing game is capable of. The Bills are a very good pass defense. Not always the best at getting to the quarterback. But what I like about their chances against Jacksonville is Brian Thomas has been erratic. If it matters to you, Travis Hunter is not there. He never really got off the ground as a receiver anyway. Jacoby Myers is fine, but not going to really beat you. He could have a good day. And then there's this Parker Washington, who's had a couple of good stat lines in recent weeks. I don't know, though, if we're talking about anybody that is on a higher level. So I want to think that by their personnel, if not also by their schemes, because the coach seems pretty good, but by their personnel, if the Bills can't measure up to Jacksonville, and then running-wise, it's ETN, and I think he's also okay. He has gotten a lot of volume in his career, but is not somebody who he's not Bijan, somebody who can just sort of break the game on you. So I do like this. I've thought about it a lot. I've come to like this about the Jacksonville possibility, that if I need to have Trevor Lawrence manufacture a win, a comeback win even, I'll take my chances there. I mean, I respect them, but I'll take my chances there. Interesting to think about the Patriots in the same vein. So what's the difference there? And because the Patriots are not loaded at receiver either, but I am a little bit more daunted by that idea because of coaching experience and that the quarterback has been better. The quarterback has been as good as any this year, I want to say, May. and he's faced the Bills a couple times. I think it's a version of, dare I put this on your plate, it's a version of the Kansas City meetings in how it's two teams that are quite familiar with each other. With the Bills and the Chiefs, there's always a regular season game, and there have been, every year the playoff games add up. So they go to Arrowhead last year, and they've met how many times in the last 5 years? 10, 11 times? Like, it's just been a lot. And the Patriots have turned their roster over, but 2 meetings this year, and both were big games. Like, especially the first one for New England, I think, that catapulted them to the division title. And then the Bills needed the second one to sort of reclaim their status, if you will. I think coaching experience, I'm not super excited about that matchup, the Bills and the Patriots for this. And I mean, I think of Vrabel as a big bully on the sideline, somebody that he already after the loss planted the seed about the Bills hold all the time. And I bet that comes up next week if they're going to play each other next week. So a lot of history. I mean, that's a huge game. They both are. But Sal had a poll yesterday for Bills fans, who would you rather play? And when I voted, New England was the more popular answer, that fans would rather play New England. I voted the other way. I think I want to be able to take advantage of Jacksonville's inexperience and their not having just sort of a hammer that I don't know if the Patriots do either. The difference is the coaches. In my mind, and maybe I'll feel differently later in the week, but I see the two matchups differently in that way. Let's get John in next. Hi, John.
Hi, Mike. Yeah, I was wondering, how do you think the Bills handled the Keon Coleman situation? Before the Philadelphia game, I thought to myself, see if you agree with this, give him 4 or 5 targets just to see if we can use him in the playoffs in the next season. Because right now he seems to be in limbo, right? I mean, are they going to bring him back next year? Are they going to cut him? Or are they going to, he just seems to be, nobody knows what's going to happen with him. Wouldn't that have been an idea?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, sure.
I thought it was astonishing he didn't, not that he didn't play against the Eagles only, but just like where we're at in this. As they're so.
In addition, he could have, if he had 3 catches for 45 yards and a score, we say, hey, okay, let's play him in the playoffs and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And next year,
Thanks.
you feel good about him if he, maybe he has a good game.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that. They just don't seem to know what to do with the guy, right?
Well, I think it's this. I think that they don't really trust him, and that relegates him to a lower status than a guy like Davis, who's been around. And even though he's not really doing anything for the Bills apart from a block or an occasional target, I think that's what it comes down to. And this game would be one where I think he's got to be in a uniform. If he's not dressed this week, we're never going to see him again, Coleman, I think. Like, this game is that game where you can try to get him going. It might not be, it might be like last year's Week 18 in New England. In that game, he had 10 targets. They lost, and he caught 2 passes, and it wasn't with Allen. Like, that's the other side of that coin. But I think this is a game where you'd like to be able to do that and see if he can't get to a place where you can feel like he can help you in the playoffs. I think it's pretty incredible that their first pick from last season at such a position of need and importance is at this point useless to them. And I think the optics of it, at least, I'd want to change that if I were the Bills, which adds to how incredible it is that he's not even playing. But it wasn't like he was that productive. What are they taking out of the lineup by not dressing Coleman? 2 for 17? I mean, they're not losing that much. So that's a big one, and we'll talk about that, John, today, maybe more with Sal, and then I'm sure on Friday. That's a big one to watch this week. Thanks for your calls. Joe Ostrowski next. Dan Leberfeld, Sal Capaccio as well today. Happy New Year. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
I've been through this a little bit before when I was younger in Philadelphia, where we had the Veterans Stadium over the years, and then we moved to a new stadium. So just, each stadium is a little bit different from the other. And so this is such a storied stadium with so many memories and traditions, and just try and take that in as we go through the game.
Sean McDermott, it's the, as you know, regular season finale, if not finale, at the stadium on Sunday, 4:25, so under the lights, Bills and Jets, maybe with a lot of backups. Could be an anticlimax. I talked to Sal the other day, sort of like ruining the situation here. Like the playoffs are coming, but almost definitely on the road throughout even, and what will Sunday feel like? And he's like, well, you could just kind of separate that and enjoy the day. And I think that's right. I think a lot of people will be that way, and others will be like, oh, where are the playoff games? Just what a weird way to end it. I don't know. I mean, a lot of bad teams close stadiums, and what does that feel like? I think it's complicated. With me now is Joe Ostrowski on the West Shore Hotline, Chicken Dinner, longtime host of Bet Sweats on the Odyssey app. Joe, Happy New Year. So glad you're taking the time out to join me today.
Oh, of course. Happy New Year, Mike. How you doing?
Good. So let's talk some awards here. Yeah. Not that we can bet these in New York, but anybody out there knows somebody, and not all our listeners are in New York State anyway. They're not so confined. Starting with MVP, I want to know, which of these markets do you think it's kind of over? There might be a couple where it's not over. A couple have been really interesting this year. Drake May now on top of Matthew Stafford. Do you think that's over?
It was funny because during the game, Joe Buck went out of his way a couple of times to talk about it. And the conversation, that they talked about during their meetings throughout the week preparing for this game versus what was happening in real time in the betting markets as that game was unfolding was wildly different. Buck is referring to the numbers and the odds and the chances that Stafford was going to be the MVP, that he was a favorite to be the MVP. And that was true during the week. And it was true in the first half. And then in the second half, that was not true because it became more and more evident that the Rams are going to lose. And I think it's a bit of an overreaction what happened. So Stafford goes from the favorite to now second. Drake May is minus 300. That's a pretty heavy favorite. I know he had a great game and it was weak defense and all that, but that seemed like a hefty move to me, Mike. I don't know. And there are a lot of people running with the idea, okay, I think it's eight opponents exactly the same, and May's performed better. May's teams won more games. I don't know. Without Devontae, just how that game on Monday went, I don't think they really should have flipped, and they did. So I don't think it's over. If McVay is true to his word and he plays his starters and Stafford has a big game, absolutely think Stafford can win this.
Is he bettable? What is the price on Stafford?
He is plus 280 is the best number you can get. So I think it's bettable. 3-1 on everything that he's done this year. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Arizona and New England might even pull back. Now that the Chargers are. I wonder if New England joins the ranks of teams that just does not push it here in Week 18. Could you see that?
Yeah, I could see that, especially with the likelihood. I mean, the two biggest favorites on the board this week, Denver and Jacksonville, and it's not like we're talking about a 7-point favorite. We're talking about almost 2 touchdowns, 12.5, and then the intel of no Herbert, and yeah, it makes sense that Denver is just going to win. I mean, the most likely scenario in their mind is, look, we're probably going to be the 2. Like that's what it looks like it's going to be. It's not just chances are coin toss. No, it's Denver 12.5-point favorite, New England 10.5-point favorite, Jacksonville 12.5-point favorite. Those slots are very high probability they stay the same.
Look at how it fell, Joe, in the AFC. Denver gets Trey Lance. New England gets Quinn Ewers. Jacksonville gets, Cam Ward. Houston gets Riley Leonard. And the Bills get Brady Cook. I mean, who needed this Week 18? Whose idea was Week 18? Like, these are all – it's tempting for any of these teams to just be like, especially if Jacksonville gets up 14-0, I don't know, like just – it could be a really lame week with all of – there's no playoff spots even up for grabs.
I know. Okay, so in the betting world, the big thing is, and we saw some of this last week, is when you're betting, when you have a matchup of two teams, got to have it. They need to have it, incentivized to have it, versus the team that is eliminated and has nothing to play for. And the team that is eliminated has nothing to play for usually covers about 60% of the time. And that would be surprising to people, but the number is boosted, the point spread, and then it goes up even more because everybody's betting on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So there are always surprises, but yeah, we have so many games. Like I'm still alive in one of these revival pools. It's $500,000, but
nice.
The problem is there's a lot of people left, but it would still be a nice payday. And a few hours ago, Philly was on my list, and now I've got to scratch them off. They were a 7-point favorite, and then they come out like, no, Tanner McKee's going to play. So now it's down to 3.5 or 4. I'm not putting everything on the line with Tanner McKee. And so now I'm staring at your Bills or the Bengals. Like, those are basically going to be my two options.
The Bengals.
Yeah.
The Bengals with Burrow.
They said they're playing their guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Eagles are another one. They get who? Josh Johnson this week, maybe? I don't even know where Washington is at. With Joe Ostrowski. Joe, what does Coach of the Year look like?
I think this is the most intriguing race because there are probably 6 guys you can make a case for. It's up in the air. Now, as far as the betting markets say the favorite is, the best chance, they're saying Vrabel. I don't agree with that entirely, especially since he's not going to get a 1 seed. But, big name, big market, like huge surprise this year with the Patriots. He's minus 140 to be your Coach of the Year. The biggest mover over the last few weeks has been Kyle Shanahan. He's now your second favorite. It's just, what was interesting is on last Sunday night between the Bears and the 49ers, it seems like whichever coach won that game was going to be right up there with Vrabel. If on that last drive the Bears score a touchdown and the Bears win that game, it's probably Ben Johnson. But instead, Ben Johnson right now is 30-1, and Shanahan's the one up there.
Wow.
So they're saying Vrabel, Shanahan close. Shanahan's plus 190. Then McDonald drops down plus 750. Then Cohen 17-1. Ben Johnson 30-1. Sean Payton 66-1. Now, I respect the betting market. I look at those 6 names. I think any of them could win. Like, who knows what these voters are going to actually end up doing. But I don't think there's that much of a separation. I fully believe there will be plenty of people that sit down and when they vote and they'll write down Ben Johnson, they'll write down Liam Cohen, and those are the 3rd and 4th favorites right now.
It's such a weird vote. I mean, Coach of the Year is generally the coach of the team that did the most better than you thought. So you could have, a lot of different opinions on that. And then I think you look at, take Vrabel or even Ben Johnson or even Shanahan. How good is the quarterback? If you think May is this, or Purdy is this, then you might subtract from the coach in that. Whereas I don't know if it's Caleb Williams necessarily as a first overall pick, but there's that. I think maybe that helps Cohen having a quarterback who also was a first overall pick, by the way. It's just like really an individual choice. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think of you here because I heard you talk about Jackson Dart all the time and then Travion Henderson, and I don't know, it looked like you might have been all set, but is Tyler Shuck going to win?
Do you have a Shuck ticket? I heard you do.
No, talked. I recommended it, but I can't bet awards, so I didn't go as far as to do it.
Not that long ago, he was 200-1.
Oof.
Before they moved him to be the starter. You can't bet everybody. And
Right.
I know a lot of people that were betting Tyler Shuck. And I'm just like, you know what? I have enough with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm not going to do anything there. Shuck is the second favorite. He's plus 150. Tedero McMillan, he's a favorite at minus 115. It's probably a situation where it comes down to what happens in the last week, and New Orleans could very well win this game. With New England, to your point earlier, I would like Henderson to play. It'd be a great result for me, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So, yeah, I'll probably be stuck there with a third and fourth favorite. That would stink. Maybe I get a surprise with Dart Henderson, not expecting it. But the one that I'm going to be paying close attention to this week, Mike, the most is Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
I'm in a really strong spot there. Before the year, got JSN at 50-1. And then about a month ago, we were looking at Christian McCaffrey, and that's a guy that Sam like before the year. I'm like, look, man, and look at his schedule, and we know the touches. There was a 40-1 about a month ago. So JSN favorite, McCaffrey the second favorite. Either of them win, I'm good. Thankfully, Puka didn't catch that ball the other night, because I think if he catches that ball, the Rams win that game, he could be your favorite right now.
Yeah, I think of Sam when I think of Puka because, I don't know, maybe 10 months ago, he's like, this is my Offensive Player of the Year. And in fantasy drafts, I'm drafting, I'll be drafting in a month for next year. And like, okay, well, he's in there with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Ashton Genty. So I'll get some Puka, but I want these other guys too. All of them bombed or got hurt, like Puka was so clearly the winning pick in that cluster of the draft, 1-8 to 2-2. And that's not even to McCaffrey yet in the early drafts. But yeah, what a player. Well, the college playoffs here, Joe, I want to say are finally here. What am I watching? The SRS Distribution Bowl? Save us.
I have not. Non-playoff games, are you even watching them? I'm not.
Well, I'm at work and they're on. And what do I want to watch instead? Kelly Clarkson? So I'm watching this instead. I just want there to be like a brand I've heard, like Coca-Cola Bowl or something. Can there just be a company whose name I've heard of? But I'm not getting so lucky. I did a just for the heck of it, a 4-team quarterfinal playoff parlay. And I wanted to throw it by you. I don't know what your picks are for these games, okay?
Sure.
Miami, Texas Tech, Indiana, Georgia.
Okay. Miami, yeah. I mean, that would be if you get that home, you are going to be very, very excited. Why not? That juices things up. I don't think the Buckeyes are unbeatable. Same. Miami can win in the trenches there.
Same.
So I don't think that's a bad idea. Texas Tech, they're the dog. I have them winning outright.
Mm-hmm.
I like them a lot. Make a deep run. Indiana, 7-point favorite. I do expect them to win. Everything there goes back to the strong coaching. Really looking forward to that. It feels like a lot of people are going to be taking Alabama +7. And if I had to, I'd look to the Indiana side. And was your last leg Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first two games you have dogs. Next two you have favorites. I like Georgia. I think Texas Tech and Georgia could meet up in the end.
I feel good about it. Indiana's one of these games where just like you would knee-jerk to Alabama, and they were giving you 7 points if you take Alabama, so they're begging you to. That's what it looks like to me because of the name power.
What did that pay? And was that just winning?
I took spreads. So whatever a standard.
Oh, gotcha.
4-1. But now I might do the money line thing after talking to you. And I want to say, I should tell listeners, I really almost never watch a college game unless it's on against Kelly Clarkson, who I don't even mind, but I can't have the volume up. But I do follow the NFL closely, and I don't do that much better. So that's my disclaimer. I've had a good year on our picks with Bulldog, though, on the pros. So that's something at least, but it's probably all luck. Joe, by the way, on my maybe you know this, ADP Chasing, the fantasy podcast I've hosted Tuesdays through the year, the guy I replaced as host of the show won $2 million on Monday night.
Wait, which?
In the
Who was it?
Best Ball Mania, Sam Sherman.
What? I feel like everybody won $1 million the other day.
I know. Just not us.
Did you notice that? Greenberg's producer won $1 million.
Okay.
On Get Up.
Okay.
I'm blanking on his name right now. And
that's right, because there was a little bit of controversy about that.
I know. I didn't say anything, but I had the same thought go through my mind. Okay, nice to see people are following up on that. And then there was another guy that is a recent fantasy football guy. I think he won $2 million.
Mac Nova.
Something like that.
Well, Sam was the host of ADP Chasing, and he left to go to a business job. I never really knew him. He reached out to me a couple times. I helped out his brother who's trying to get into the business. Never really knew him, and then he was in position to win Best Ball Mania, and he did for $2 million. So it's a little bit awkward for me. Like, I've already got a partner on that show who's won $2 million himself in this tournament. Now the guy I'm not the analyst these guys are. I'm more just sort of the host to keep it on the rails. But you can tell it maybe I'm already getting defensive about it, because am I supposed to win millions or else I'm a slob or something? Like, I don't know. I feel a little bit inferior from this. But,
I know.
Sam seems like a good guy, and, great, good for him. I mean, that's amazing, life-changing.
Yeah, It's awesome. It makes you think, okay, maybe it's worth something, not just the entertainment money that we're throwing away, like pizza money here and there. Like, wow. And to be able to say that, to put it in the bio, it makes you feel good.
Yeah. And then a lot of these guys get right into content, and maybe he'll get back into that. I don't know. Joe, Happy New Year. Thanks for your time today. Good luck this weekend.
Happy New Year, Mike. I can't wait till we get these matchups. Going to be a lot of fun. Bills the 6, right? We'll be talking about at Jacksonville game, right?
That's the likeliest outcome, but maybe this week gets a little screwy. I don't know. Either way, Look forward to having you on next week to break it down.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Ostrowski, Chicken Dinner with Sam Panayotovich, their podcast, their renewed partnership. Dan Leberfeld on the Jets joins me at 4. Bulldog is off. He'll be back with me on Friday. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. Talked to Sal at 5 today. Seem to be remembering Sal liking a point or exchanging with someone on Twitter about how the Bills have, everybody should have this, with so many coaches. Why not more, by the way? I feel like there's probably a little bit more money over there to go around. How about more coaches? With the huge staff that they and every NFL team has, devoting prep on the possible playoff opponents, maybe most importantly, Jacksonville, who you haven't played this year, unlike Pittsburgh and New England. I suppose Denver is also this, but you won't see Denver next week, I think. I guess you could. Anyway, whatever. Like those teams, how the Bills put serious effort into scouting those teams. That seems right. Patriots, too. Played the Patriots twice. I wonder what the balance is, though. It'd be different people who are captaining this versus preparing for the Jets. Because you wouldn't want it to be, noticeable that your focus isn't on the team you're playing next. That's something I know Sean McDermott would prefer to avoid. Like just this week. Even if he does pull starters, it's still about this week. I wonder how they sort of juggle this game and then what could happen next week. The guys, it starts with Allen. Allen is most of this. If he's not going to play much against the Jets, then you could already be, if you will, schooling him on Jacksonville, Denver, whoever that might be next week's opponent. I would think that you'd want to do that. It was a walkthrough today. Matt Prater walked through in full. So I guess that's good, whatever that actually means. If they did have practice, he would have kicked. They only sort of had practice. Maybe he didn't have to kick, but he didn't fall down or trip or grab his leg or anything. So that seems good. Dan Leberfeld on the Jets after the update. Happy New Year. Mike Schopp here, WGR.
The Bills got back to practice today, and we did get the first official injury report. 6 players not practicing today: Josh Allen, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, and Reggie Gilliam. And then 4 players were limited: Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Phillips. And we also got an update on the status of Ed Oliver. Head coach Sean McDermott did speak before practice and said Oliver has undergone a meniscus cleanup. It happened earlier this week, and this injury did pop up during the rehab process as Oliver is looking to come back from a bicep injury. And of course, with this, he does remain on IR. The Barnes Firm Injury Report is brought to you by The Barnes Firm. Injured for help? Call 1-800-8-MILLION. We'll get more on the Bills coming up in just about an hour when Sal Capaccio joins the show at 5 p.m. Tough week off the field for the Patriots. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore is facing misdemeanor charges of assault and battery on a household/family member. This according to court documents. And just yesterday, it was announced that wide receiver Stephon Diggs has been charged with felony strangulation or suffocation and misdemeanor assault and battery. To the Sabres, it is game night tonight at Dallas, pregame at 7 for an 8 p.m. puck drop. Buffalo is looking for their 10th win in a row. However, some tough news on the goaltending front. Alex Lyon heading back to Buffalo for further evaluation on a lower body injury. But some good news. While it is not official, Emily Kaplan of ESPN is reporting that Sabres forward Tage Thompson is going to make Team USA's Olympic roster. The full official roster for Team USA will be announced on Friday. And then in college football, the quarterfinals of the playoffs starts tonight. The Cotton Bowl at 7:30, Ohio State versus Miami. And then the other 3 matchups will be tomorrow. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl at noon. The Rose Bowl between Indiana and Alabama at 4:30. Then at 8, the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss taking on Georgia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog.
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
At least today, unlike prior, the bowl games come with colleges you have heard of. Nebraska and Utah, I can buy it. Michigan and Texas, okay. I mean, that's a bargain for a Wednesday afternoon. Quote, Coastal and Appalachian State, I mean, I'm sorry. December 28th and 9th or 30th, too close to the sun. That's just too close to New Year's for those matchups. Get them out of the way earlier next year. I got all the answers over here. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. Always a pleasure to welcome Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential, to the show on the West Her Hotline. Dan, Happy New Year to you. It is, at least in terms of the regular season, the last game ever out at the stadium. I figure you and I probably met there, however long ago that was, maybe 25 plus years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember the first time we met exactly. I know we worked together a little in Rochester on the writing front, but I'm sure the first time we actually met in person was probably at a game, no doubt about it.
Do you have any particular memories of our stadium?
Well, I always liked the herd of stats. That was always good.
Yes.
They always handed out these massive packs of stats, the great PR department of the Bills. The hospitality was always great in the press box. The old one, the new one, Western New York charm. The food was always solid. I want to say great, but I never like to complain because it's free in the press box. I remember the Larry Felser seat in the old press box. Remember the Larry Felser seat? They kept an old, nice chair in the middle of the press box in honor of the great Buffalo News sports writer. So, man, I've been there a lot of times. There's no doubt about it, a lot of good memories.
By the old press box, you mean like midfield, not the one in the corner like
old
now?
the midfield. If the fans don't know, for the uninitiated, the press box used to be on the 50-yard line pretty low. It was one of the best vantage points of any press box in the NFL. But then the Bills, like a lot of the other teams, got smart and said, you know what, we can build luxury boxes right there. Let's put the ink stain wretches in the end zone.
In those years, it's kind of like one of the only windows throughout the history of these two franchises where they were both pretty good, like the late 90s. Testaverde and Flutie. There were a couple of years there, one in particular, 98, I think, where it was a big game late in the season here that the Jets won. But, I guess it's not entirely a coincidence, Dan, that for much of their last 50 or even their entire history, 60-plus years, not often have these two teams been good at the same time.
No, that's a really good point when you think about the histories, and the Jets have that dubious distinction. I believe they're tied with the Sabres in this regard. I'm sure you bring it up every once in a while. 15 years sitting out the playoffs. I can't believe I haven't covered a playoff game in 15 years. I often joke with my radio partner on Sirius XM NFL Radio, Vic Carucci. I go, Vic, what's it like to cover a playoff game? I mean, 15 years. I haven't been I'm not complaining, and I enjoy my job, even though it's not a good team. I feel blessed to be able to cover an NFL team and go to press boxes and stadiums and locker rooms. But I can't believe it's been 15 years since I've been in a press box covering an NFL playoff game.
I feel much the same about hockey, like you mentioned. And they keep adding playoff teams, Dan, and it's still not enough. So one of these years, but it was the AFC Championship after the 2010 season. The Jets lose in Pittsburgh, and then it's Aaron Rodgers' Packers beating the Steelers in the Super Bowl that year. That's the last appearance the Jets have made in the playoffs. Dan, it's something, in terms of the Sabres or even the Bills before Sean McDermott, 17 years in a row. It's something you can really just talk about at length and try to understand. It's not easy to understand. Is it understandable or close enough to that word how the Jets continue to languish like they have? And I wonder, too, if you'd think this is maybe a new low point.
Yeah, this is pretty low. There's no doubt about it. The last month has been the quality of football has been so low. I haven't seen it at this level in a long time. Blowout after blowout, blown coverage after blown coverage. I mean, I'm covering these games, and you saw some of the highlights where you're playing the New Orleans Saints. Chris Olave is their number one receiver, an emerging star for New Orleans. Wide open behind the secondary for 2 touchdowns. How does that happen in the NFL, meaning that obviously star receivers are going to get open and they're going to catch passes, they're going to catch touchdowns. But Chris Olave wide open behind the secondary twice. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne, 3 touchdowns receiving out of the backfield, wide open all 3 times. Once again, people make excuses. They're playing a lot of backups. There's injuries on defense. I don't think this defense was particularly good before the injuries, and even with backups. I mean, you see it in Buffalo, and I'll talk about Buffalo as far as obviously they have the quarterback, they have a good head coach, and they have a good coaching staff because twice recently, they had rough first halves dealing with the opposing offense, Philadelphia and New England. Look at the adjustments. I know fans like to ask, and we like to ask, what halftime adjustments did you make? And some people minimize them. I think they're important. So when you look at the halftime adjustments by the Bills against Jalen Hurts and against Drake May, I'm not seeing a lot of good adjustments being made, and I just don't understand, even if you're playing backups, that gets me back to the Bills, because how many times have Bills starters been out on defense, and there's still a solid defense? And the backup safety or the backup corner is not blowing the coverage in the zone concept. I mean, they played zone concepts in college, these kids, right? They've been with the team for 3 months during the regular season and the offseason. Why can't they play basic zone coverage, Mike?
Well, I don't know if I would know the answer to that. Is it an effort thing? Have they tuned out the coach? Is it just that the players are not at a base sort of level of quality, or both?
No, I don't think the issue, and I've written a few blogs about it this week, I don't think the issue is effort or heart or any of that stuff. I know people like to go down that road when this stuff's going on, and a lot of the post-game shows after the Jets' recent loss to New England, effort was brought up. Even the coach brought it up, but he backtracked the next day. It's not an effort thing. I see guys flying around. A bunch of guys got hurt last week. They're flying around. They're trying hard. On defense in particular, they need probably 6 or 7 new starters, and I'm not embellishing. There are players that probably wouldn't be on other teams in certain cases. There are players that make the same mistakes over and over again, and a couple of them aren't even rookies or undrafted guys. The 2 inside linebackers continue to not read their keys properly in coverage. Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams out of position all the time. ATN beat Quincy Williams on all 3 touchdown catches. So those are players they inherited. So I think there's 2 issues. They made some personnel issues with the players they added in the draft after the first round and the second round. That was pretty good. But after that, undrafted free agents, street free agents, they made some mistakes. And some of the players they brought back, this is the more damning thing. Some of the players they brought back, I don't know what film they were looking at from the prior regime and the prior season. And I'm not acting like I know how to break down film anywhere near these guys do. But I'm telling you, there's certain players that they brought back that they shouldn't have brought back. The film doesn't lie, and these guys should not have been part of the new regime. I don't know what film they were looking at from last season.
With Dan Leberfeld, when we do talk about, you mentioned already, like I bet you bring this up from time to time, the Sabres comparison, and you're right. We do. And with the Sabres, I think, at times I've had a good roster, or not a good roster, but not a terrible one. But I've got a team that's sort of just in shambles, and it sometimes doesn't make sense. And what I end up thinking of sometimes or pointing to is just a lack of credibility within the organization that doesn't lend itself to bringing out players' best. Like, I don't know if I want to, maybe subconsciously even, Dan, give everything I've got to this because I just don't believe in it. And could that be a real thing with the Jets? I mean, it's been so long, the issue of the owner and his kids and just sort of who's in charge of what. And I don't know, it seems like the kind of franchise from out here on, from afar that I could imagine players checking out on.
Well, I think that sometimes if you're a player and you don't think some of the coaches are giving you the best chance to win with the scheming, like we were talking before about the halftime adjustments against Philadelphia and against New England for Sean McDermott and his staff. If the Jets ran 2 fake punts on one series last week, who does that? And that's the kind of thing where the players are like, what's going on here? And so some of it's X's and O's, some of it's player personnel. The roster is really bad now, but people were quick to point out this week about all the backups the Jets were playing in that Patriots game. The Patriots without 8 key players, 2 starting defensive linemen, 2 starting linebackers, the left side of their offensive line was out, and also
2 receivers.
Hollins. I didn't want to say 2 starters at receiver because Hollins was out. I believe he starts. You guys know him well in Buffalo. And Butte, I don't think Butte starts, but he's playing well. So 8 key players were out. So I don't want to hear about how the Jets had injuries when the other team had 8 key players out and they dominated the game in a lopsided fashion. That points to deeper problems than just injuries.
Dan, do you think tanking is gaining traction as a concept in the NFL? I can imagine, maybe we talked about it years ago for some reason, just like dismissing it out of hand. People like to do that with the NFL. We would have it in hockey or other sports. And with football, you tended to get, it would never happen in football. Do you think that's changing?
Oh, well, right before I came on with you, I was listening in my car to Sirius XM NFL radio, and Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin had on Pete Carroll for his weekly spot. And he said, I'm looking forward to the game against the Chiefs. He didn't say, I'm looking forward to trying to win the game against the Chiefs. And they deactivated, put 3 players on IR who were key. There's no question what they're doing with the Las Vegas Raiders. With the Jets, they deny it. Aaron Glenn says every week he's trying to win, but starting Brady Cook at quarterback, the last couple of games and going into Buffalo with Brady Cook at quarterback, I think they are tanking. And Bart Scott said on the postgame show on SNY, he said it, and that's the team's media partner. He said once they decided to pull Tyrod Taylor and go with Brady Cook, they're tanking. And that came from a guy that not only works for the team's media partner, SNY, he works for the team's website. He does podcasts with Eric Allen, a Buffalo native who runs the Jets website. So Bart Scott, who works for the team's website, said on the postgame show they're tanking. And I asked Aaron Glenn today when he said Brady Cook was the starter, I go, does Brady Cook give you the best chance to win? And he looked me in the eye and said Brady Cook gives us the best chance to win. I'm not putting Tyrod Taylor in Canton, but there is no way on earth Brady Cook gives them a better chance to win than Tyrod Taylor. There's no way. Brady Cook was an undrafted free agent out of Missouri where he was an average player. He is a great kid. I think he won SEC Academic Player of the Year 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Great young man, very smart, but very smart. We've had this discussion before about quarterbacks that went through Buffalo probably before Josh Allen, Jets quarterbacks. You could be extremely bright in school. You could be extremely bright in a regular job. But I'm telling you, this whole thing of processing defenses, and Mike, you're a very bright guy in your own regard, and you know there's different types of intelligence. Being very smart, you could be a 4.0 student. You could be a world-famous brain surgeon. You might not be able to read defenses. It's a totally different thing. And Brady Cook is extremely bright. He's checking down to running backs down 42-10. He's just not seeing it downfield.
There's a lot I can do mentally. Just don't watch me try to fold a bed sheet. It's impossible.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's got their mental acuity that applies to certain areas.
Yes. I remember taking a test very young in school, like maybe third grade. They're trying to figure out what you're good at. And I got like all these high scores. And there's one category, Dan, called spatial relations. And I got a 35. Like it's 99, 99, 99, 35.
Yeah, and I always try to explain to Mike, to people, Mike, that, and they just don't get it. They're like, I'll say a certain quarterback over the years, he's not good at processing going through his progressions. That's coaching. I go, no, it's not coaching. Tom Brady was so unbelievable at it as far as seeing everything. There's so much going on at the same time. You got two edge rushers trying to take their head off. You got the defense showing you one look before the snap and then changing it after the snap. If you're on the road, you can't even hear yourself think. Like, it's really hard, and most humans can't do it well.
Dan, a few more minutes. Do you think Aaron Glenn deserves a second season?
Well, I've made it a philosophy over the years, a policy that I don't fire coaches or GMs or cut players. I try to avoid that. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say whether he deserves it, but when Albert Breer had a big story today in SI that he's definitely coming back, he said in the story there was never even a consideration of firing after 1 year, and I find that odd. Yeah. Once again, I'm not saying he should be fired, but when you see what we've seen, how is that not even in the conversation? Once again, not saying it should happen, but there's something wrong with the process. If you look at what we've looked at and not even bring it up, you could dismiss it, but you got to have it when you're talking around the table. He's got to make major staff changes. They have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. He's got to nail those. I just don't think that the ownership, Woody Johnson and his right-hand man, Ira Axelrad, and his other right-hand man, Jaime Elhai, I don't think they were ever going to eat about $50 million in salary for the 4 years left on Aaron Glenn's contract. I just don't think they were inclined to do that. So I don't think they were ever going to fire him. But I'm telling you right now, this is as bad. I tweeted the other day, and I wasn't being hyperbolic. I've covered the Jets almost 30 years. This is the worst defense I've ever seen of all my years covering the team. Wow. And this is a coach who made his bones as a defensive coordinator. Right. Before that, a secondary coach, and he was a really good corner in the league. The strange thing about the defense is Aaron Glenn gets the job, and he hires Steve Wilkes to run his defense, who he doesn't have a background with and doesn't run the same system. Have you ever seen a coach? Now, Sean McDermott can have Bobby Babbitt's, but it's Sean McDermott's system. It's a very strange situation where you hire a guy you didn't work with before, you throw him the car keys to run your defense when you made your bones as a defensive coordinator, and you let him run his defense. Mike, does that seem odd to you?
Yes. And by the way, you picked out one of my favorite little gems, too, in reporting, because they always say that, right, Dan? They always say they wouldn't even have thought of it. No way. Like teams are always defiant to the question of whether they're going to fire a coach or, move on from a player that they plan to keep. Like we haven't even who would even think of that? Teams are, because what does it sound like in the middle? we had some long, hard discussions, but we're deciding to keep going with them. They don't want to sound like that either. So, yeah, it's laughable when it comes out that way, I think. I don't know if you're saying the same thing, but...
No, once again, I want to be careful with my words here. I'm not saying he should be fired. I don't do that. But if you're discussing how this season has evolved and what we've seen out there, especially over the last month with a historic stretch of getting blown out, the conversation has to go on at the table. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but to say it never crossed your mind seems a little odd to me.
Sure. No. I think it should happen here. I mean, after any of these recent seasons, even though it might be not even close to happening, a coaching change, I mean, at least you talk about it. So that seems right to me. How about the Bills for you, Dan? So you know the season that's happened. It's looking pretty wide open in really both conferences. I think the national narrative on the Bills is going to be, if not now, when, right? No Kansas City in the playoff picture, but they're also going on the road. How do you like their chances?
Well, I love their chances in the AFC. I think that situation with the Chargers and their offensive tackles is a big problem, even though Herbert is making the best of it. I mean, they're two stud tackles. I mean, these are 2 first-round picks who are really good. They're both out for the year, as you know. And some of the backups that have been in, like Salyer, who is filling in at left tackle for a couple of weeks, he was hurt last week. So when you have both starting offensive tackles out, it leads to a situation like Justin Herbert's going through. He is getting hit an awful lot. Who knows how sustainable that is? That's one of the reasons he's not playing this week. The winner of the AFC North, I don't think the Bills should be fearful of that team. And New England, we saw in the matchup, New England is doing a nice job. They've got some issues with distractions off the field this week. We'll see. Due process is important. We'll see where those things go, but that can't help in terms of distractions. But we saw in that Buffalo game that New England is probably not ready to take out Buffalo in a big game. Maybe they're a year or two away. So I think the path is, unless I'm leaving a team out as I'm going through things in my head here, I think the path is pretty clear for Buffalo in the AFC.
Denver?
No. You know, Vic keeps getting on my case because I keep bringing up Bo Nix's playoff game in Buffalo last year. I go, that was an example of the league catching up to a young quarterback's tendencies. And you don't know which Bo Nix you're getting week in, week out. So the defense is really good, but I cannot take Bo Nix in a matchup against Josh Allen. No way.
Very good, Dan. Well, thank you as always for your time. Happy New Year to you. And we'll both be watching here the final game at Highmark Stadium, Jets-Bills.
Yes, we will. Where is the Bulldog? Does he have a gig at a casino with his band?
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly where he is. He always takes this week off. And, you know, in a way, I'm sort of jealous, like my family is out frolicking somewhere. But I also like working this week because of all the playoff stuff, all the speculation. It makes for a really interesting week of sports talk, I think. So I'll take it.
No doubt about it. It is a great sports week.
Thanks again, Dan.
Anytime, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential. Lines are open for you at 803-0550. I'm wide open today. The stadium, as we send it off after Sunday's game, probably. The matchup with the Jets, sure, but the Jaguars potentially, or the Patriots, who do you want? And we've talked some the last couple of days about Keon Coleman not getting to play recently and just whether that will change coming up, whether you think it should. Dalton Kincaid is another one. People are out there making the comment, making the point that Kincaid is huge to the Bills' chances. And I have not been totally talked into that yet. Anyway, I'm here for it. 803-0550 for your calls. Sal will join me at 5. Yes, Bulldog is off. I expect him back here with me on Friday. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
Buffalo Bills got back to practice today. We also got the first official injury report of the week, and 6 players not practicing this afternoon: Josh Allen, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, and Reggie Gilliam. And then 4 players were limited: Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Phillips. We also did get an update on Ed Oliver. Before practice, head coach Sean McDermott did speak with the media and did update everyone. Ed Oliver did undergo a meniscus cleanup earlier this week, and the injury popped up during the rehab process as Oliver is looking to come back from a bicep injury, and with this, he does remain on IR. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help? Call 1-800-8-MILLION. We'll get more on the Bills coming up in about a half hour when Sal Capaccio joins the show at 5 p.m. Sabres game night at Dallas, a 7 p.m. pregame, 8 p.m. puck drop. Buffalo looking for their 10th win in a row. Some bad news: goaltender Alex Line is heading back to Buffalo for further evaluation on a lower body injury, and then some potentially good news. And it is not official, but Emily Kaplan of ESPN is reporting that Sabres forward Tage Thompson is going to be making Team USA's Olympic roster. We'll get the full roster announced on Friday. And then in college football, the quarterfinals of the playoff does start tonight with the Cotton Bowl at 7:30. Ohio State versus Miami, and then the other 3 games will be tomorrow. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl at noon. The Rose Bowl between Indiana and Alabama at 4:30. Then at 8, the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss taking on Georgia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Coverage, Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams out of position all the time. ATN beat Quincy Williams on all 3 touchdown catches.
Dan Leberfeld, just before, talking about the Jets' woes. Maybe it's a low point. I don't know. It is relatable. With the Bills in recent years, we haven't been in this category, but certainly the Sabres have. And before McDermott and Allen, the Bills were. That you already know that. And it gets really, it's frustrating, it's sad, it's a lot of things. It gets really twisted, too, sometimes, trying to decide what you want. I mean, you kind of, not everybody would. This was a huge point of contention with the Sabres at one time, but I don't know. I'm the type that would want them to lose. Better draft pick, simple. What is this good for? Winning late season games, that really don't help me in any meaningful way. Of course, I recognize and did then and always have that the players have a different incentive than management would, but it gets to be that time of year where a bad team might as well just keep losing. It's better off. And that's no fun, right? We've been all over that over the years, sort of whether that's respectable or I don't really care if it's respectable. I just want the better value. So that gets weird and also frustrating. Just, I think the Jets are this. I think the Sabres have been this. Maybe that has changed or is changing. But you've got to show like you're a serious organization. And there are certain things both teams have done that, to say the least, really make you question that. Teenagers deciding on players because of their Madden ratings, for one. That's the Jets. And, with the Sabres and Kevin Adams going into year 6 and I guess even getting a new contract after 5 straight misses in the playoffs, I mean, it's unheard of. So I was on in Toronto yesterday, 10:50 in Toronto, and we were talking about this. And one of the hosts is Carlo Koliakovo, who played for the Sabres and the Leafs. And did that sound like I was putting him down for having played for the Leafs? I wasn't. Just, to tell you a little bit more about him. But, I mean, I said it's interesting when you're talking to an actual NHL player. Look, I don't know how these guys think, but it seems logical to me that if you're going along in an organization that just seems in different ways to be less than, financially, whatever it is, facilities, it can take on all kinds of different forms. You're at risk of getting less out of your team because you might just not get the buy-in in the other direction. So then, I mean, that's what talking to Dan Leberfeld reminded me of with the Jets is he asked me, like I always like that about Dan because he'll ask us questions. Like, does it make sense to you that these guys, they played zone in college, that they can't even understand basic zone defense concepts? Like, well, no, but if they're going through the motions on a team, by the way, whose season is long over, and they don't really take seriously the possibility of their getting good, which could be true. I mean, wouldn't that seem normal? Then you're not going to get, just logically, you wouldn't expect to get the very best out of your players. So maybe then it makes sense. Well, it's not our problem anymore, at least when it comes to the Bills. Maybe it's not with the Sabres either. We'll see. They can't lose. It's 9 straight wins. Dallas tonight. 803-0550 for your calls. A big topic on Sunday's game. Of course, it's the end of the stadium, and we've talked a lot about that and look forward to doing more of that. Sal will join me at 5. One thing, if they're going to rest starters, and, we've all made the point that unlike in the preseason, I mean, you can't rest them all. You only have room for so many, and maybe that's a half dozen players or so who don't get much playing time, if any, on Sunday. But it's not going to be everybody. An interesting one is James Cook, who leads the league in rushing. And if the Bills, and I expect that they would have this incentive, want to get him the rushing title, I don't see that as one of the bonuses, by the way, leading the NFL in rushing. I don't think that's in play for Cook. But if the Bills were to go for that, so Jonathan Taylor is second, and I think it's 48 yards behind. I have it written down somewhere. 47. Hear that paper? That's me looking for it in my notes. I had it written down. So Cook is up by 47 yards. Taylor for Indianapolis plays at 1 against Houston. And so the Bills will know, maybe he won't even get to 47 yards and you won't have to worry about it. But if Taylor goes for a certain number, then it might be interesting how important it is to the Bills to get the not the record, but to get the rushing title. Like, where is that line? I mean, you could have it be any number, and Cook starts the game, and you just hope he breaks one and puts it away. Probably by that, if it's Jonathan Taylor and Cook, that would be, that would be it. Derrick Henry plays Sunday night. He's farther behind. He could have another amazing game, and then maybe he steals the show. But really, you're shooting for beating Jonathan Taylor out for this. And, if you get a big hit from Cook early in the game, then maybe you're all set. It's different, though, I think, than last year, because it was a similar situation when the Bills went to New England. And what they wanted for Cook was a touchdown to get him the franchise touchdown record. So they got down there and put him in. He got stopped and left him in, and he scored, and that was it. They didn't have to, pile up yards or anything for him. The goal was the touchdown. That was the point. And then he came out, and that was it. This game, if the Bills take Allen out, I wouldn't expect their offense to look good. Maybe the Jets are so bad that it will. But I think you could have more like last year's game in New England, a game where they really just don't get first downs and move the ball, in which case Cook might have a tough time getting to the rushing lead. And at what point would the Bills pull the plug on that? Like if Taylor goes for 90 or something, which, it could easily happen. It's Jonathan Taylor. If he has the kind of game where, say, Cook needs 50 yards to win the rushing title, and it's a slow start, and you want to take Allen out, so you do that. I mean, do you just leave James Cook in no matter what? I would think the Jets would have maybe this one incentive defensively on Sunday would be to deny him that. I don't know what else there is other than just sort of basic stuff like winning the game, whatever, but he might be a marked man, especially with Allen out. So then I think you have to be ready. You have to draw a line somewhere. I think you would probably do this, not just leave him in at all costs. Because then you're completely defeating the purpose of taking guys out in the first place. I assume they think he's important. And if you're leaving him in, I don't expect this, but if you're well into the game and he can't get his 50 yards or whatever he might need, and you're just sort of, throwing him into the wall play after play, hoping to get to that number, that's really defeats the purpose of the resting players in the first place. Because not only are you not resting him, you're kind of wearing him out in a meaningless game. I mean, that's, or close to a meaningless game. That's not what you want. So I wonder if there's a number, if they don't get, if he goes into the game behind and he doesn't pop one early-ish in this game to settle it, would they just kind of keep feeding him until he does? See what that looks like. We might anyway. See what that looks like on Sunday. Is it meaningless to you? I don't mean the stadium either. I don't mean that piece. Is it meaningless to you? You got a chance for a 6 seed or even a 5 with a win. And yes, it is the Jets. The Bills are favored by 7. I think if it were expected that everybody plays like the game were more important to the Bills, that number would be double that. I mean, the Patriots were, I think, a 12.5 point, I should know because I had the Jets, a 12.5 point favorite last week on the road against this team. What would the Bills be at home if you felt that they were going all out to win? It might be 14, might be more. Why would it be even more than that? Possibly, but it's not. It's 7. So that's been my, my light on sort of how to look at this game. I think if that line is going to be 7, then people don't expect the Bills' top players to play very much, if at all. Otherwise, come on, 7 against the Jets? I don't think I'll be betting it. I do have limits. And Week 18 is kind of my limit. I mean, I say that now. Who knows on Sunday at noon if I'll get an itch, but Week 18 is a tough sledding. Do you play fantasy football in Week 18? That is hardcore. A few years ago, I joined a league that played Week 18 for the championship, and I didn't know it when I agreed to play in the league. Friend of a friend, asked me to do it, and okay, I like a challenge, different guys, sure. And I found out later that they play the championship game in Week 18, and I don't remember making it to the finals, but I just remember thinking, oh, this is the worst. It's bad enough when it's Week 17, which is when almost all leagues finish up, and you've got players like Rashee Rice might be a good example of this. I mean, he was concussed, but teams that just don't have any incentive to win left, and they shut down their best players. Garrett Wilson with the Jets, although that was longer ago. Players like that, where they just don't play because their team is bad. The situation is so bad, and in fantasy, you just have to live with it. But Week 18, when kind of everybody sits, just imagine think of your best or your one fantasy lineup and what it might look like this week. Sure, like if you have Christian McCaffrey, he plays, but you can't really start Allen, I think. Who's your quarterback this week? Maybe you have Burrow. That would be good. If you've got Justin Herbert, no. Any of these top AFC team quarterbacks could come out. Jalen Hurts might sit. I think he sits for at least some of that game for Philadelphia. Just so many of your options are not available. That doesn't really seem – it makes sense to me why we don't play fantasy in Week 18. If you do, that's pretty crazy. I want to say good for you because it's different and maybe a little bit brave, but I don't know. I got right out of that league. I do not want to be in a league that has all the money come down to this week's games. Sal Capaccio coming up at 5. Lines are open for you, 803-0550. It is New Year's Eve. Thanks for listening. Bulldog is off today. I'm Mike Schopp, and this is WGR. The Sabres go for a 10th straight win tonight. Really? Tonight in Dallas. All right. It's a real number. They are right on the cusp of a playoff spot. The season is about half over, and things are trending up. No Alex Lyon sent back to Buffalo, so Luukkonen will be your goalie tonight. Belfour for Dallas. Pretty sure. Haven't looked, but I'm guessing. New Year's Eve. Go with your best guys on New Year's Eve at home. Saturday night, Seattle at San Francisco. We'll do picks on Friday. Bulldog will be back. Very curious about the line in that game. And I always say, when it's weird to me, I want to go with the weirdness, lean into it. Seattle is favored in San Francisco Saturday night with the 1 seed at stake. 1.5 is the line. I think that's really interesting. I think I guess I'll just say bias against Sam Darnold, not that it's necessarily unfair, because bias, I think, implies that it just isn't fair, but the attitude most fans have about Sam Darnold, I think, is that he's always got to keep proving it. And especially now, remember last year with Minnesota, they get to week 18, they're 14-2 going into Detroit, but they needed the win, and they lost. And Darnold really struggled. Then they go to L.A. That's the punishment for not beating Detroit. They have to go on the road as the 5 seed. They go to the Rams and get blasted there. And the Vikings go from this great dream season with Darnold and even asking questions about whether they should sign him long-term. Heck with J.J. McCarthy. We've got a guy right here. Those 2 losses, I think, made it easy for them to do what they would have always preferred, which is to walk away from him because you have the draft pick invested in McCarthy. And so they do that. McCarthy ends up really just having a terrible season. Darnold goes to Seattle, a team that was supposed to have a bad line, limited weapons, and he has an incredible season. But now here we are in the same position, just weird for him probably. What do I have to do to play for a team winning all these games that is not in this spot? On the road, in the division, week 18, big challenge at San Francisco. But the Seahawks are getting the respect from the betting market. -1.5 on the road. That's interesting to me. It would make me want to pick the Seahawks. Same thing for me last week with the Bears. The Bears went out there on Sunday night and were +3. And I always thought that was light. So I don't know that I picked Chicago or did anything about it, but I would have been on that side of it. And it turned, I think it was 42-38, wasn't it? So San Francisco covered anyway. With as good as they looked on offense, without Kittle, bad on defense, but still, how about that they're not favored at home in that game? So I think I'd be on Seattle because of that. What's at stake? I mean, the difference between the bye week, you don't get the benefit of rest here because it's high stakes, so nobody's resting in this game, at least at the start. Bye week, home field. And for Seattle, that's a big advantage. I mean, that's a notoriously loud, difficult road stadium. Same thing could be true in the AFC with Denver. Maybe they're not great teams. Maybe Seattle is, I don't know, but that home field advantage is something there, unlike, say, the Chargers or somebody like that, or even the Rams. San Francisco wins, they're the one, and not only would they get home field, the Super Bowl is in their stadium. So they could end up just playing it out all in Santa Clara, I guess it is. So huge game there. That's Saturday night after Carolina and Tampa Bay. And that's not even necessarily for the NFC South, because an Atlanta win on Sunday against the Saints would win the division for Carolina, even if they lost to the Buccaneers. I think when that playoff schedule comes out, maybe this is one to run by Sal. He loves this stuff too. I think job one is to hide Carolina. So you put them in that first game. Or even if it's because you're playing a West Coast team on a Saturday, if it's the night game, so be it. But I can't have Carolina playing on Sunday. I'm sorry. I don't know what that makes me, but if I'm putting that schedule together, they're not on the Sunday slate. That's a Saturday team if I've ever seen one for the playoffs. Maybe it'll be Tampa. I think that's probably the same thing. Sal Capaccio after sports. Happy New Year. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. Stock up and save at Outlet Liquor as you
The Buffalo Bills got back to practice earlier today, and we got our first official injury report for the week. 6 players not practicing for the Bills: Josh Allen, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, and Reggie Gilliam. And then 4 players were limited: Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Phillips. We did also get an update on Ed Oliver before practice. Head coach Sean McDermott did meet with the media and did update everyone. Oliver has undergone a meniscus cleanup. It was happening earlier this week, and this injury did pop up during his rehab process as he's looking to come back from a bicep injury he suffered earlier this season. And of course, with that, Oliver does remain on IR. The Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help? Call 1-800-8-MILLION. Stay tuned. We'll get more on the Bills as coming up next, Sal Capaccio will join the show. To the rest of the NFL, and a tough week off the field for the Patriots. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore is facing misdemeanor charge of assault and battery on a household/family member, this according to court documents. And just yesterday, it was announced that wide receiver Stephon Diggs was being charged with felony strangulation or suffocation and misdemeanor assault and battery. We also have some injury news around the league. Steelers edge rusher T.J. Watt was a limited participant today, the 4th straight practice for him. And Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson back at practice today, and he was a full participant. Steelers and Ravens on Sunday night for a winner-take-all matchup in the AFC North. Then to the Sabres, it is game night at Dallas, pregame at 7 for an 8 p.m. puck drop as Buffalo looks for win number 10 in a row. Bad news, though, for goaltender Alex Lyon. He is heading back to Buffalo for further evaluation on a lower body injury. And then some good news. While it is not official, Emily Kaplan of ESPN is reporting that Sabres forward Tage Thompson is set to make Team USA's Olympic roster. The full Team USA roster is going to be announced on Friday. And then in college football, the quarterfinals for the playoffs starts tonight. The Cotton Bowl at 7:30, Ohio State versus Miami. Then the other 3 games will be tomorrow. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl at noon. The Rose Bowl, Indiana and Alabama at 4:30. Then at 8, it's the Sugar Bowl as Ole Miss takes on Georgia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Happy New Year. When last we spoke, like not even 10 minutes ago, when last I spoke, I was talking about what a subject. You know it, you love it. Speculating about Wild Card Weekend schedule. That's right. And maybe it's not always on your mind or even Sal's mind, although Sal likes to dabble in this area. Sal, I said, job one with the schedule next weekend is to bury Carolina. Make them the new AFC South Invitational. It's now the NFC South Invitational Saturday afternoon game. Although, what's different this year than most years is at least 3 West Coast teams will be traveling east to play. And the number one job here shouldn't be bury Carolina if Carolina even wins that division. It should be, fairness to whatever extent you can control that. And if the Chargers are going to, say, Foxborough, the Rams are going to Philadelphia, the San Francisco 49ers are going to Carolina or Tampa, I don't know, they got to be a little bit cognizant of the toll that trip takes, I think.
Maybe. I think that's right. Now, it's one different time zone, but the Broncos came to Buffalo last year for a 1 o'clock game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they probably would think about it. I think the bigger thing that matters this year, I would think, but maybe not, is where the Week 18 schedule falls, which is Carolina and all the NFC South teams. It's all NFC, I should say, right?
Saturday.
So maybe that would matter into how they want to place everything the following weekend. So you have this year Panthers and Buccaneers on Saturday, Seahawks and 49ers on Saturday. So you're probably, I guess you could still put either of them on Saturday. I guess for me, it's more about Pittsburgh and Baltimore playing Monday night, so they won't give them a Saturday. They won't give either of them a Saturday game. So that's kind of what I'm getting to, I guess, right?
I agree with that.
Or they're playing Sunday night, excuse me. So I think that's probably the Monday night game. This year, since 21, Mike, since they've had the Monday night game, it's always been the NFC 4-5 game. I think this year will be the AFC 4-5 game.
So do I.
Only because I think they'll have Pittsburgh or Baltimore coming off a Sunday night play on Monday night.
Yep. The 4 teams that play this Saturday, that's 2 playoff teams for week 1 only. One will have the number 1 seed and not play next week.
That's right.
And the other will be out. And those 2 teams may very well play each other. So that's one game. San Francisco at Carolina, say, or Seattle if it's Seattle. Not necessarily. Could be Seattle gets the 6th seed, but, maybe. And, yeah, I think I'd want to put the Saturday teams on Saturday next week, too.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Bills' chances in this, as early and, maybe a little bit ridiculous as it is to speculate?
I think if the Bills play at Jacksonville, that's probably your AFC South Invitational. Like, it just screams like it should be and will be.
First game of the week.
Because the Texans are the other AFC South team, but they'll be on the road. Obviously they have a chance to win the division. I think whoever wins that division is hosting Saturday in the early window. That's what I think. And then if it's Bills-Patriots, feels more like a Sunday game to me. Certainly could be Saturday night, but I feel like that's a Sunday game. Yeah, I think that you're still looking at Jacksonville or Houston hosting that 4:30 game. Now, we actually had a good talk about this in the media room today. We're having the same discussion, and someone said to me, well, don't you think Josh Allen could change that equation? Do you really want him on Saturday at 4:30 now that everybody knows who he is? Yeah, it certainly could, but there's enough star power, I think, to carry the weekend anyway.
Yep, that's the question I would ask, too. It's really about the home teams. And Houston would be that Monday night opponent if they got the 5, so that would take care of them. I like the Patriots 1 o'clock Sunday no matter what. If that's the Chargers, it's still Sunday, and they have to play an early game. I think I would predict that. I'd put Green Bay, Chicago, Sunday 4:30 if that's the matchup. If it's Philadelphia, then I'd do the same thing. I think Green Bay plays, for me, they would, the 4:30 slot on Sunday. And then the night game would be the Eagles or the Bears against the Rams, I guess, or Seattle, whoever it is. I think that all works. One of the first 4 games of the weekend will be on Prime.
I think you're right. I can't remember which one.
I don't think it's
and
announced.
How the schedule works for there's so many TV partners now. I forget which TV has which network, which streaming service, device, app, whatever has each game this year. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's announced which game it would be yet.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe Saturday night would make sense. We'll see.
Last year, the Chargers and Texans did play in that AFC South Invitational. So the Chargers did travel, but it was a 4:30 start. So for them, it's just a 1:30 game. So I don't think that, for what you're saying is right. It's not a 1 o'clock game, but this year they could be in that 1 o'clock window on Sunday, which obviously matters. So, yes, these days they have more options. But, going back in years past, they've had West Coast teams play 1 o'clock games, in the playoffs in the East. So, it can happen. But they do have more options if they don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I just think the fact that you have 3,
yes.
I think it'll be 3 West Coast teams playing on the road next weekend. You can't accommodate everybody. Justin Herbert sitting this week. You can't blame the Chargers for that, I guess. He's got a broken hand. We talked about this on Monday a little bit. It might set up for other teams following suit. Maybe New England feels less incentive to go all out. Maybe the Bills do. Maybe even ultimately Jacksonville and Houston do. I think their games need to start first and then see what it looks like. But what an anticlimax, at least on the AFC side, if not also the NFC. Is there some structural flaw here to take note of, or is it just sort of how the dominoes fell?
It's really interesting you say this. I think this has kind of been the case the last couple of years where it hasn't been the juice as you thought it might be when the league said we're going to have more division games. We're going to have only division games in Week 18. One of the things that's been rattling in my head today has been the next time I speak with Mike North next year is maybe to ask him if they would revisit that and say maybe just conference games. Because it feels to me like there's not a lot of that going on now where the two teams matching up. There are some though. He would probably point to me. My guess would be well, wait a minute, that's not true. Like, they have this great Sunday night game that's going to determine the AFC North. They have this great Saturday night game that's going to determine the NFC South. Saturday afternoon game, Saturday night game has a big stakes involved. So he would probably point to those. I just think that it feels like, as you said, it's a bit more anticlimactic because you don't have those right matchups. And when you pigeonhole yourself into only having 3 possible opponents for every team, in Week 18, I think that can happen.
I have always felt that way about it. I don't know why. I guess maybe there's some illusion of fairness to it, or even maybe more than an illusion. But I never thought that we really needed that for the final week, Week 18 it is now. Like, I never felt like the league really needed that, restriction on the schedule. But I don't know. This is another one that people don't seem to complain about. It's just this year we don't have any playoff spots up for grabs. And really last week it wasn't much of that either. It's just kind of been interesting this year how well decided it was. All right, so to this week's game, Bills and Jets. Today was a walkthrough for the Bills. I always find that funny. They do the injury report after the walkthrough. Had they had an actual practice, this is what we think would have happened. I see Matt Prater was listed as a full participant in this walkthrough, so I think it's probably safe to expect him back, right?
Yeah, I think that looks like the case, especially considering Sean McDermott's been kind of indicating that a little bit, and they have not signed another kicker after releasing Michael Badgley a couple of days ago. I mean, if Prater, if there was really any question, they'd probably have another kicker. Now, it is Week 18, and it doesn't really, quote-unquote, matter, right? The game, standings, they're in so we can kind of parse that. But I guess if you really came down to Friday or Saturday and needed somebody, you could do that. But it feels like that's not the case. So I do think Matt Prater is trending towards him playing on Sunday.
Josh Allen listed as a DNP with the foot. One of 6 players, not really any need to read into that, though, right? I mean, would you?
No, he's – in fact, the encouraging news today was both on Allen and Kincaid, where McDermott said both are doing better than last week. So Josh obviously played last week. He says he'll be fine. McDermott basically indicated he'll be fine. He's getting better with the foot. Dalton Kincaid, I thought it was really interesting when McDermott was asked about Kincaid today. He said he'd be limited. He was specifically asked, is he doing better? And he was kind of very quickly, emphatically to say yes. Like, it was like it wasn't like, yeah, he was like, yep, he's getting better, and he's in a better spot than he was last week at the end of the week. And I think that's really encouraging. Honestly, I don't know if they'll play him, and I don't think they should, to be honest with you, Mike.
Yeah, right.
Let him rest another week. If he's really there, then hey, you're going to need this guy in the playoffs. Like, that's really good news that he's he's better now than he was last week, and he's trending up. So give him another week to be able to do that, and we'll see. As far as Josh is concerned, I really don't know what they're going to do as far as playing him. I mean, it's almost certain he's going to start because he has the starting streak that's intact, and even today he was asked about it and said how that's important to him. So that's going to happen. The question is how quickly he gets out of the game. He does have the 40 touchdown streak that if they want to get him 40 touchdowns, I don't know how much he cares, they care. That's a lot of stuff. McDermott talked a bit about this today. There's just so many things this week that they're trying to navigate through, and you have the injuries, you have where they are in the standings and the seeding, you have rest versus rust, what the offense didn't look like last week and getting them maybe back on track and feeling that, they did a little bit of work there on what they need to do. And then you have the final game at Highmark Stadium, and that means a lot to the organization, the players. All of that is really interesting. So the way Sean said it was what his job is and what he thinks that it comes down to is what is the best for us to improve this week as a football team? Like, what do we need to do to improve as a football team? Like, if you let all those other things creep in, then you're losing sight of that. And it's not an easy thing to do.
What would it be, in your opinion? What is an area of concern that they think they could meaningfully get better at against the Jets?
It's a good question. Health, I think, really. I think health is the number one thing to improve on. They have to improve on their health. They have to be better. They have to be healthier than they have been. If you wanted to get to something on the field, I would definitely say that the offense, I think, has to come out and maybe play faster, play better, start faster. Maybe that's something that they can come out and maybe they have Josh on the field and say, we're going down the field and scoring. And he's going to get his 40, and we're going to get him out of there because we want to start fast and show we can start the game faster than we have lately.
40 total touchdowns for Allen already. He has 25 passing and 14 rushing. Unbelievable, the rushing touchdowns every year. Care to try to guess the inactives, or is that unprofessional?
It's not unprofessional. I ask my Twitter followers to do it sometimes. I just think it's such a weird week. It's such a fun exercise sometimes. But the problem with this is you have, first of all, you're going to have 48 guys, which you're going to have. That means you're going to have 7 inactives because you'll elevate 2 to give you 55. So there's 53 men. You elevate 2, that gives you 55. You're going to have 48 active as long as you have 8 offensive linemen, you get 48 active. So 8 offensive linemen. Right now they have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, only 9 on the roster. So they'll have 8 offensive linemen. That means one of them would most likely be inactive. But in this case, I wouldn't doubt if 9 are active, to be honest with you, because they're going to want to get guys out of there. So that eats up one spot. I think the biggest issue is you need to elevate guys to be able to have extra players. 4 guys are already out of elevations. Andre Jones Jr., Zion Logue, Bale Inspector, and Dane Jackson. They can't do that. And you have so many guys that are banged up that, to me, Mike, you have to start from there. You got to start from, okay, there's guys we don't want to play necessarily. There's guys we'd like to have sit. I don't know, maybe that's your 2 older linebackers, Matt Malamo and Shaq Thompson. Maybe that's the case. But you're already without Bernard, and Bale Inspector has no elevations left. If you want to do that, that's fine, but you have other guys around the roster like Kincaid or Daquan Jones or Jordan Poyer that they're dealing with injury, so it's more important for them to sit. That's why it's very tough for me to do.
Yeah. That list today, not including Allen, he'll play, at least to start. But those other DNPs, I wonder if any of them does. Right?
I agree with you. I don't
starters.
know.
Bernard,
yeah,
we know
I mean,
is out.
Bosa, why risk Bosa? Reggie Gilliam was sick, by the way. He's on the list today, so I would think he would play. But Daquan Jones is in this boat. Jordan Poyer's in this boat. Give these guys an extra week to be ready, because I just think prioritizing health is the most important. Do you ever listen to Fitz and Andrew Whitworth?
I don't. Only on the Prime broadcasts together.
Okay, well, they have a podcast, and I don't really listen to it a lot. I don't see it a lot. But sometimes, something will come up in my feed, and I'll see it. I happened to see something last night because the headline was something like why Andrew Whitworth says, or Fitz says, they say that the loss of the Eagles is a blessing in disguise for the Bills. And I'm like, okay, and I know people have said that because they can rest people. But really what happened was I really thought it was a fascinating, some anecdotes from Andrew Whitworth about him recalling when he was on the Bengals and when he was on the Rams, and the ways that they've played it where they either rested players or they played. And it's kind of gone both ways. And his biggest takeaway was, and he gave an example, like one year they played the Jets in week 18, okay? The Bengals did. And they basically sat everybody. But they told him, well, you're going to go out there, then you're going to – they didn't sit everybody, I should say. They played, but they pulled him out. But they kind of like, yeah, you're going to go out there, we're going to take you out at some point. And they kind of didn't know when they were coming out, a little wishy-washy. They did it. They lost the game. He said the next week, though, we just the Jets came. The Jets, they replayed them again the next week in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez, and the Jets beat them. And he said they just weren't ready to play, and he attributed the way they handled Week 18 to that. And then he talked about in the Rams having 2 different scenarios too, and they lost one year to the Falcons, which I forgot about. I think it was a COVID year where he felt that they were rolling. They were rolling on offense, and they sat, and then they just didn't have their rhythm that first week, right? But his overall takeaway wasn't you got to play necessarily. It's at least have a clear direction and communicate it to the players of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Don't be wishy-washy and don't say, yeah, you know what, we're going to play some of you guys. At some point, we're going to take you out. It's we're resting you because we need you ready for next week. Let's go. Or we're going to play you. We got to go out there to fix this and this, and then we're good.
That Atlanta game was in 2017. I remember Al Michaels having that game at the Coliseum, and I was just in love. Like his voice in the Coliseum, Falcons, Rams. And yes, Atlanta did win that game. Here's one scenario I haven't given much thought to. Before I get to that, Bosa and Daquan Jones each accrue $250,000 if they get 1 sack in this game against Brady Cook. They might want to play. Would you let them if they did?
I think getting a sack is too tough to try. I mean, if they wanted to play a series or two, I would say a series or 2, but you got to get out of there. Banking on a sack to get that, how long do you wait on that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's very tough. The Myles Garrett comment last week was really interesting, right, about the Steelers? Did you hear that?
They cared more about denying him than winning?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that he said that. And I know there's a bit of a rivalry there between him and, well, of course the teams, but him and TJ Watt, and all that. But yeah, he said they cared more about that. And I think when it comes to sacks, like that's just so arbitrary sometimes when you can get those opportunities. For Josh for the 40 touchdowns, the Bills have they have more control over trying to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The Bills can try to get Josh a touchdown by having him throw to the end zone. You put Bosa or Daquan Jones out there to get a sack, they have no control over what the play calls the Jets have.
No, I mean, it's different. You'd also say this. It's different than the Myles Garrett one. I mean, I thought he was probably mostly talking about Rodgers. And I watched almost that entire game, and I saw the same thing. Like, anytime Myles Garrett would get one step, Rodgers is so well experienced, he knows, he sees it and dumps it. And he just had no time for Myles Garrett getting anywhere near him. He almost did once, and Rodgers would rather dump the play than risk a sack to Myles Garrett. I think that is probably fair. Well, we'll see. If there are 10 guys you want to sit and 2 of them want to play because they have $250,000 for one sack, maybe we get that. I
think Dawson Knox has like $100,000 for 6 catches.
Yep.
And then $100,000 for 7 yards, maybe. So that's something you might want to do,
And also a touchdown. He has 3 different ways of earning $100,000 each. Shakir has a couple. Maybe I'll get back to this. If Bosa had 3 sacks, that's $750. One more thing. Again, this scenario I haven't really given much thought to. This is not so far out of the realm, Sal. The 1 o'clock game Sunday, Jacksonville and Houston both play at 1. Jacksonville plays Tennessee. They get out 21-0. Houston sits its guys. And
I've thought about this a lot this week.
If they do that, the Bills have a path to the 5.
Yep.
A Houston
100%.
loss and a Jacksonville, or the other way around. But the other way around, Jacksonville's not taking guys out because of what Houston's doing. The division is in their control. But other way around, I think Houston could end up pushing that button. And if they lose, and Denver has to win, and the Bills have to win, then you're the 5.
Yes, I brought this same scenario conversation today in the media room. We were talking.
Look at me. Look at me. I'm basically just whipping out the discussion points from the media room today.
It's amazing.
Amazing. I wasn't even there.
No, you weren't, and you would have fit right in today. You would have loved it.
Oh.
I mean, we were down there, and it was a walkthrough, so we don't get to go out and watch any of the practice, so we had extra time in there today, you know what I mean? So McDermott talked, and we're sitting around, and a lot of us were having lunch, and we're talking, and, people are recounting their fantasy championships, you know what I mean?
I would have fit right in on that one.
There you go, right? Yes. You would have fit right in. And then, no, that came up, and I brought that scenario up, exactly what you said. I said, listen, it's entirely possible. Jacksonville has things in hand. Houston is scoreboard watching and goes, you know what? That's it. Let's get CJ out. Let's get Nico out. Let's get these guys out. And then, suddenly Houston loses, and the Chargers, they're resting everybody. They lose the Denver, who's trying to win. Here come the Bills, and they get the 5 seed, and they're suddenly going to Pittsburgh or Baltimore.
Could happen. Well, I was not there. I'm never there for these media room discussions. And here are my 2 excuses today. One is I had Matthew Collar's podcast that I do every week. And 2 is I have a puzzle I'm obsessed with.
Oh, boy.
Does that happen to you?
What is that? No, yeah. Yes, it does happen sometimes. What are you obsessed with?
I'm not like I love crosswords and sort of word puzzles, but I'm not the big jigsaw puzzle guy. My wife got the family this puzzle, though. I'll have to show you. I tweeted a picture of it last weekend. It's insane. Okay. It's a picture of dogs, but the pieces are all like shaped like dogs or just random like people. So it's not your classic crossword puzzle shaped pieces, and it's diabolical. Like it's so hard trying to find. Some of these are like these big, narrow, curvy pieces, and then there's these other ones. One looks like a bicycle, and I don't know. I'll send you a picture, but I
feels
love
like
it.
It's right up my. You and I are very much cut from the same cloth with things like this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll send it to you so you can see what it looks like. But the harder it is, the more interested I am. Whether that's crosswords or this or games, anything like it's got to be challenging. And if it is, I'll spend like all my time on it.
Or figuring out the NFL Week 1 wildcard schedule.
Yes, that's right. As soon as we get through this week and we know next year's matchups, and we have to wait on the Super Bowl, but I'll be on to primetime Week 1, 2026. So can't wait for that. Are the Bills guaranteed new stadium, whether they win the Super Bowl or not, to play at home at night? First game at night, even if it's Week 2.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes. I think they're, yes. The NFL loves to highlight new stadiums, yes.
I think so too. Thank you, Sal. Happy New Year.
All right, you too.
Extra, the EP with Sal Capaccio today. Extended play. His appearance is brought to you by, did I have to define extended play? Maybe not. His appearance is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. New York's only outlet liquor. Your place to buy a case. What's your outlet? Timeout. I'll look for your calls next, whether it's the end of the stadium or the game itself or next week. 803-0550 for your calls. How long do you go on James Cook if he needs a certain, decent number of yards to win the rushing title come 425 Sunday? I like that one. New Year's Day tomorrow. I won't be here. Bulldog and me back together on Friday. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
Bills, albeit in a walkthrough. However, we did get the first official injury report for the week, and 6 players not practicing for the Bills. Josh Allen, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones, Jordan Poyer, and Reggie Gilliam. And then 4 players were limited: Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Phillips. Before practice, though, head coach Sean McDermott also spoke with the media, and he was able to give an update on the status of Ed Oliver, as he actually underwent a meniscus cleanup earlier this week, and this injury popped up during his rehab process for looking to come back from a bicep injury he suffered earlier this season. And so with that, Oliver remains on IR. And the Barnes Firm Injury Report, it is brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. Sabres game night tonight. They are at Dallas, pregame at 7 for an 8 p.m. puck drop. Buffalo looking for their 10th win in a row. Bad news for goaltender Alex Lyon. He is heading back to Buffalo for further evaluation on a lower body injury. And then some good news. While it is not official, Emily Kaplan of ESPN is reporting that Sabres forward Tage Thompson will make Team USA's Olympic roster. We'll get official confirmation and the full roster on Friday. And then the quarterfinals of the college football playoff do start tonight with the Cotton Bowl at 7:30, Ohio State versus Miami, and the other 3 games, they're going to be tomorrow. Oregon versus Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl at noon, the Rose Bowl between Indiana and Alabama at 4:30, then at 8, it's the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss taking on Georgia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to overcompensate either way. I'm not going to go out of my way to not let him get the record, and I'm not going to go out of my way to let him get the record either. I'm going to go and play football. There's going to be situations that a sack is the best of the bad outcomes of that play, and maybe I take one. And there's going to be other situations that I'm about to get sacked, and I need to throw it away in that situation. Such a situational game that I don't think you can go in thinking one way or the other.
Joe Burrow. I've heard him talk this way about sacks before, and it's unusual to hear a quarterback talk about a sack ever like not being, not literally versus, say, an interception, but the kind of outcome of a play where you just would never give it any sort of upside. But Burrow has talked like that before. He takes a lot of sacks. I think I would probably bet that Garrett gets one against the Bengals. And, you know, I would have to admit, some of that is what Burrow just said. There are times when it's the best outcome of a play, as opposed to what? You know, throwing the ball out of bounds. I would say, like this has been said already, but Aaron Rodgers, as Sal and I talked about for the Steelers against the Browns, and maybe you saw the same thing. Anytime Garrett got a step, and Rodgers probably thought he was getting a step when he wasn't, just from behind him, but he got rid of the ball so fast in that game. And they scored 6 points. I bet that is maybe what Joe Burrow would say to that. Pittsburgh scored 6 points against the Browns. It looked like it's so easy, but it's so easy to dislike Rodgers. Like, not only does he seem to shun coaching and, you know, he's been this certain way for a few years, if not for a long time, but he's always just sort of rolling his eyes and pointing fingers and throwing up his hands. Like, he doesn't even bother to try to mask his frustration with teammates and, you know, the people he works with, including the coaching staff. It's insufferable. If you're going to do that, you need to be like, great. I think that's the only way that's okay. And even then, it's not ideal. But he's not great. And it's got to be just such an annoyance, to say the least, for a lot of those people he's around. I mean, it looked like he was calling off play calls and just making plans with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, former Packer, former Bill, to beat guys one-on-one, and he's not going to do that, and that almost never happened in this game. Enough about Aaron Rodgers. Let's go to Al next. Hi, Al.
Hey, I just wanted your take on this. This season kind of, or going into the playoffs, kind of feels like 2 years ago, Kansas City, when they had to go on the road.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
I'm just wondering what you thought, if that has any similarities.
Sure, yes. I think the difference in terms of sort of an outside perspective is that the Bills haven't won it yet, and the Chiefs had maybe won it twice already. So it was that year for me, it was like bet against Kansas City at your own peril. And I'm not sure the Bills rate quite on, I think they don't rate quite on the same level, but it's still a valid comparison. Like, they might be favored in every game, even despite the fact that they're on the road, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, the Chiefs they got to play the first game at home, Kansas City. They beat Miami that year in super cold weather. And then they came here. What were they, the 3? Came here to play the Bills, who were the 2, and then they went to Baltimore to play the 1, and they won both of those games. And then beat San Francisco again, right? Yeah, I think that's what happened. Thanks, Al. Here's Chris next. Hi, Chris.
How you doing, Mike?
Good, thank you.
Hope you had a good holiday and your vacation from Bulldog.
I miss him.
The reason I call in, I've been listening, a long-time listener, a long-time season ticket holder. I'll make it real quick because I know you got Paul Hamilton coming on.
No, I don't. How'd you know? Why would you?
At least Sabres talk.
No, I don't have anything of the sort planned today.
Memorable times in the stadium, real quick, was Cornelius Bennett's first game against John Elway. Bought tickets like 2 days before the game. And most people don't realize he wore number 55 when he started.
For a couple years.
Yes, exactly. Loudest the stadium was, I still think, was the Patriots 0-degree game where everybody stood the whole game. No pun, recently that was. But biggest reason I called was the Dick Duran years. My son was 12 years old. My wife entered a Tops Friendly Market thing, and he won the kickoff kid. Tickets for 4 against the Jets, Bills. Went to the game. Got a jersey from the Bills, terrible uniform, by the way, and brought us right down to the field. It was Malloy, Lossman, it was Bledsoe and everything. And the Bills lost the toss, so he couldn't do the kickoff kid, run out there and get the tee. Brought us back up. Second half, went back down to the tunnel. Saw the worst general manager they ever had in Donahoe standing there. Went out in the field for the second half, and he was supposed to get the tee, and Duran they didn't kick off for some reason because they changed the wind. They did something goofy. He never was able to run out in the field and get the tee. We still joke about it at every game. I called Howard Simon the next day, wrote the Bills. It was unbelievable. They did not let him go out and get the tee. True story.
So that would only be the first kickoff of the half.
Yes.
And in this game, it turned out that they took the ball. They were able to receive twice.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's happened since.
No. Dick Duran made it happen. True story.
It would have been probably the other, maybe not.
Yeah.
One of the coaches has to decide that they want to kick off instead of receiving.
Correct, and that's what happened.
And you think it was the Bills that made that decision?
I'm not sure, but at least the judge should have just let the kid run out and get the tee and take it around to him.
Or couldn't you do it for some other kickoff in the game? I guess it's not sponsored in the same way.
So with the 3 season tickets we have right now, we got tickets going to the new stadium. Every time we go to a game, the kickoff kid goes out there and slides on the ground. It was just an experience you never forget. When I explained to a 12-year-old,
I guess maybe this is like 10 years ago now, but when Bulldog and I were going to games regularly at the stadium and doing post-game from the booth, which we stopped doing during COVID. There was a Packers game that you might remember when Marone was the coach. And I would go on the field with Joe Biscaglia. We would take a lap on the field. We would compare socks. Joe was into his socks. And I came to really love being on the field, just watching Aaron Rodgers, in that case, warm up. I got a kick out of that, like watching a pitcher warm up or something, like seeing how the quarterback goes about his routine. And the Bills put a stop to it. Like eventually, I didn't make the cut for being able to go on the field. But when I could, I really enjoyed doing that. And I don't think I ever did as a fan. But
we were right down by the bench, and it's funny. We still got pictures, and I looked through them here recently, and Ross Tucker's on the team, and I was going to send it to him. It was fun. It was fun, but it's a wild story that I wanted to call in.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Everything you guys do.
Thank you, Chris. Happy New Year. I want to look that up now. I have no doubt he's telling it right. That Bennett game he mentioned, 1987 strike year, and The final score, I have always remembered this one. I didn't go to this game, but I've always remembered it. Not on TV. 21-14 is the final, but the Bills got to 21 with 2 safeties. And there were no 2-point conversions in those years either. So 7-0, 9-0 on a blocked punt, 16-0, 18-0 on another blocked punt. Rob Riddick, Steve Tasker. Could they have recovered one of these punts? So 18-0. Hi, Steve. Scott Norwood field goal, 21-0 in the third quarter. Then Denver 2 touchdowns, 21-14. Bennett's first game. Famous because he was awesome in that game. Made a huge impression right away. All right, time for a break. This is Mike Schopp. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening to WGR.
In sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of
If you missed Joe Ostrowski on the show today talking about the awards markets and the Bills' chances a little bit, check it out on the Odyssey app from earlier today. Just saw a funny one in this bowl game I have on, Nebraska and Utah. So Utah has the ball, and it's a long heave down the right sideline, one-on-one matchup. Utah guy goes up and gets it. Looks like he lands in bounds. Right as he's catching the ball, the official standing right there at the pylon, right in front of the play, sort of slams the flag down at the 1-yard line. So it's going to be interference. Utah receiver with the ball in hand gets up and gives the official sort of a double point, either to mean you saw it, you saw the interference, or he might have been going like, what's the call? And the official the guy gives him the double point, a little bit rich, and the official just immediately forcefully points toward the offense. Like, take that, kid. It's on you, buddy. The receiver looked like he might have had a little bit of a smile on his face, and for what it's worth, on the replay, it looked like a pretty good call. But I don't know. Don't give me the double point. You know, if I'm a ref, if we're friends, I love the double point. It's the Filipponi. I've used it. Hey, there it is for those of you watching. There, right there. I've used the double point. I don't want to see it if I'm officiating your game. Save it. I found this Jets game the caller talked about. Other than one thing, it checks out. This is 2004, November 7th, 2004. The Jets won the toss and kicked off. And then the Bills got the ball to start the third quarter, too. So it's just what he said, that the Bills received the kickoff to both halves. And so his son didn't get to run out and grab the tee. It's not Duran, though. It's malarkey. It's 2004. For Ross to be on the team also. Like, Ross didn't play for Duran. I wanted to find this game, and I'm glad I did. So 2004 season, the Jets kick off both halves. 25-mile-an-hour winds, according to the box score at Pro Football Reference. On my birthday, let's see, that's my 33rd birthday. Wow. Wonder what I did. I know what I did. I watched this game and did a post-game show. That's what I did. At least part of that day. Hopefully not, hopefully there was something else. Okay. I mentioned Joe Ostrowski, Dan Leberfeld on the Jets. An interesting conversation as always with Dan, kind of putting some perspective on where things are at with the Jets going into a 15th straight, wrapping up a 15th straight non-playoff season. That's coming up. It is New Year's Eve. Thanks for making us and me a part of it. This is Mike Schopp. Bulldog back with me on Friday here on WGR.